Most people think that in order to raise their frequency, they need to meditate longer, think more positively, or escape the chaos of the world. But what if I told you there's a forgotten bone inside your body, one that holds the key to your energetic vibration, and it's been asleep your entire life? Not your mind, not your heart, but a small sacred bone hiding at the base of your spine. It doesn't think, it doesn't feel, it remembers. And when it moves, something ancient wakes up. The ancients didn't sit in silence for hours to awaken. They moved, they danced, they shook their core, not to perform, but to open portals. The bone they moved was no ordinary bone. It was the throne of energy, the altar of life, the seat of the soul. And it still lives inside you, silent, waiting. In this video, you'll discover what that bone is, why moving it changes everything, and how a simple shift in awareness can activate the most primal force you've ever felt. This isn't fitness, this is initiation. There is a bone, quiet, hidden and forgotten. You sit on it, you walk with it, you sleep above it, yet you've likely never truly felt it, never honored it, and certainly never realized the power it holds. I'm talking about the sacrum, the triangular bone at the base of your spine. It connects your spine to your pelvis. It supports your body. But to the ancients, it was so much more. It was not just a structural anchor. It was the energetic throne, the place where the soul sits, the place where vibration begins. They didn't study this in textbooks. They felt it. They danced it. They built rituals around it. In ancient Egypt, resurrection ceremonies focused on the base of the spine, the Jed pillar rising only when the sacrum was awakened. In Mesoamerican traditions, movement began from the hips and flowed upward in spirals. In African and shamanic cultures, rhythm and shaking weren't entertainment, they were technology. A way to wake up what had gone dormant, to pulse life from the bottom up. And here's the key they all knew. When the sacrum moves, your entire energetic system responds. Nerves light up. Fascia conducts charge. Breath deepens. And something ancient begins to awaken. But we've forgotten. We've been taught to think upward, escape the body, meditate in silence, seek light in the crown. But what if the crown can't open unless the root is alive? What if your highest frequency depends on your lowest anchor? This isn't philosophy, it's physics. Your nervous system begins in the sacral region. Your entire spine emerges from this sacred triangle. It was the first bone formed in your embryonic body. It holds memory, not just biological, but spiritual. That's why it's called sacrum, the sacred, the foundation. But in modern life, we lose connection. We sit for hours. We ignore our hips. We tighten, numb, disconnect. We treat our body like a container. But the ancients treated it like a temple. And the sacrum, that was the altar. This isn't about stretching or yoga poses. It's about moving this bone with awareness, not to look graceful, not to perform, but to activate, to allow vibration to return. Because when the sacrum moves, the breath changes, the mind clears, the boundary between thought and presence softens. This is not a metaphor, it's a mechanism, one that modern science is only beginning to understand. But ancient people didn't need machines to measure it. They lived it, felt it, passed it down, through movement, through rhythm, through breath. And you can still feel it, right now. The forgotten throne, still inside you, waiting to be moved. Most people think of meditation as stillness, sitting quietly, eyes closed, body unmoving, a passive retreat inward. But the ancients didn't always sit. They didn't always close their eyes. They didn't try to escape the body. They entered it. Because in many ancient traditions, movement wasn't a break from presence. It was the gateway into it. Sacred movement was the first form of meditation, and the body, not the mind, was the first teacher. Before philosophy, before breath control, before any written doctrine, there was rhythm, there was sway, there was spiral. The elders of Africa moved their hips in ritual circles, not to impress, not to perform, but to activate, to awaken the sacrum, the throne of life, through movement. In Mesoamerica, sacred walkers traced invisible maps into the earth with their feet. Every step had purpose, every sway had memory. In the East, before yoga was still poses, it was fluid motion, energy guided through the spine, spiraling, circulating, living. These weren't random dances, they were codes, stored in the bones, passed on not by text, but by gesture, vibration, awareness. The body remembered what the mind forgot, and the sacrum, the root, was where it all began. The idea of sitting still came later, when control systems wanted silence more than sovereignty, when the body began to be feared, and movement, especially from the hips, was labeled as impure, distracting, dangerous. But the ancients knew better. They knew that motion could quiet the mind faster than stillness ever could, because when the body is allowed to speak through gentle spirals, slow circles, grounded sways, it doesn't just relax, it reveals. It reveals stored emotion, hidden tension, forgotten knowing, and all of it begins in the hips, in the pelvis, in the sacred triangle we call the sacrum. This isn't just cultural, it's biological. The sacrum connects your spine to your pelvis, your root to your center. It holds nerves, blood flow, fascia, and when it moves, your breath changes, your awareness expands, your energy begins to flow again. True meditation, in its oldest form, wasn't separation from the body. It was reunion through it. So what if your practice didn't begin by sitting still, but by moving? What if you let your breath guide a small circle in your hips, letting the sacrum speak in its native rhythm? What if that was your entry point, not your escape route? Maybe you've been still for too long. Maybe what your soul is waiting for isn't silence, but movement. not to run away, but to return. You don't need to believe in ancient rituals to understand why the sacrum matters. You just need to look at the nervous system. The sacrum isn't just a bone. It's a hub, a command center at the base of your spine. It connects directly to the sacral nerves, a major branch of the autonomic nervous system, and feeds into the pelvic plexus, a dense network of nerves that control your gut, your genitals, and your inner balance. This region governs your sense of safety, instinct, reproduction, and survival. And all of it starts at the sacrum. But there's more. The sacrum is also anchored by fascia, the connective tissue that wraps around your muscles, organs, and even your brain. Fascia is electrical. It conducts energy. It's a sensory organ in its own right. And the fascia surrounding the sacrum is thick, rich, and intelligent. When you move the sacrum consciously, you don't just stretch tissue. You send electrical signals throughout your entire body. And those signals matter because they affect your vagal tone, your body's ability to return to calm. When you activate the sacrum, you stimulate the parasympathetic system, also known as rest and restore. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, stress hormones lower, awareness expands. You move from fight or flight to presence and flow. This isn't speculation, it's measurable, it's biology. Now let's talk breath. When the sacrum moves, especially in spiral, circular motions, it creates a wave that moves upward through the spine. This motion enhances diaphragmatic breathing, increasing oxygen intake and CO2 balance. Balanced CO2 improves oxygen absorption into cells, a process called the Bohr effect. It doesn't matter how much you breathe in. What matters is how your body uses it. And when the sacrum is activated, your body starts using breath more intelligently. Even your brain responds. Studies using EEG have shown that gentle rhythmic movements, especially of the spine and pelvis, promote alpha and theta brainwaves. These are the same wave states linked to meditation, flow, intuition, and even dreamlike awareness. The movement of the sacrum literally alters your neurological rhythm. You're not just changing how your body feels, you're changing how you perceive reality. And if that sounds extreme, consider this. In embryology, the sacrum is the first bone to form. Your spine grows out of it. Your nervous system grows along that spine. From the very beginning of your life, your experience of the world was shaped by this single bone. So when you move it with intention, you're not just exercising. You're communicating with the foundation of your neurology. You're activating the original architecture of your being. Even your balance and orientation in space depend on the sacrum. It links directly with the cerebellum, the part of the brain that governs movement coordination and rhythm. That's why when you move the sacrum rhythmically, you begin to feel centered, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's no coincidence that ancient cultures placed so much value on this bone. The Egyptians called it the pillar of life. The Greeks saw it as the seat of the soul. Alchemists called it the crucible of transformation. And now, modern science is catching up. In studies of somatic therapies, movement of the hips and sacral region has been shown to release trauma stored in the nervous system. The sacrum is often where unresolved fear, shame, and stagnation are held.
When you move it slowly, with breath and presence, you create a release valve for emotional charge. You allow the system to recalibrate, gently, naturally, from the inside out. This is why movement matters. This is why awareness matters. Because when you move this bone, you're not just changing posture. You're shifting your state, your brain, your breath, your energy field. The ancients called it sacred for a reason. Now, the science agrees.
Now that you understand the ancient wisdom and the modern science, it's time to return to the body. Because none of this matters unless you feel it. We're not here to theorize. We're here to remember through practice. And the practice is simple but powerful. You're about to learn a sacred movement, not a stretch, not an exercise, a ritual, a gateway. Before we begin, set your space. This matters. Energy responds to intention. So take a moment. Dim the lights. Light a candle if you can. Let the space feel held, quiet, sacred, even if it's just your bedroom. Now, stand or sit with a straight spine. Close your eyes. Place your awareness at the base of your spine, at the sacrum. Breathe slowly through your nose and let your breath land there, not in your chest, not in your mind, but in the bowl of your pelvis. Feel that area. Feel its weight, its density, its stillness. And now, begin to move, gently, subtly, as if drawing a slow, invisible spiral with your hips. Don't try to be precise. Try to be present. Let the movement be circular, soft, intuitive, like your spine is a snake, and your sacrum is the source of its wave. Inhale as you draw the circle forward. Exhale as it falls back. Let the breath guide the motion. Let the motion guide the breath. It's not about how big the movement is. It's about how aware you are while doing it. This is what the ancients practiced, not choreography, but connection. If you feel emotion rise, welcome it. If you feel heat, observe it. If your mind resists, keep moving gently. This movement activates fascia, stimulates vagal tone, releases tension, and reawakens the body's memory. Do this for 5 to 10 minutes. Stay relaxed. No music is needed, but if it helps, use slow drumming or ancestral rhythms to support your breath. You can also try this lying down. Bend your knees, feet flat, and slowly let your hips rock side to side. Still circular, still present. Try it in the morning to awaken your energy, or at night to release what the day has stored. This is movement as meditation, sacrum as the altar, you as the ritual. Do not rush, do not force, and most importantly, don't expect. Just feel. The body knows what to do once you give it permission. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about rejoining yourself, becoming whole again through motion. And when you do this regularly, daily, even for just a few minutes, you begin to notice something. Your breath deepens,
Your anxiety fades. Your awareness sharpens. Your center returns. Because the moment the sacrum awakens, your entire body listens, not to thought, but to truth.
You've practiced. You moved with awareness. You connected with the sacrum, maybe for the first time in your life. And now, something feels different. You may not be able to describe it. It might not be dramatic, but it's real. Maybe it began as a warmth low in your spine, a sense of grounding you didn't expect, or a subtle shift in how you walk, how you breathe, how you feel in your own skin. This is what happens when you awaken the root. The body starts to remember itself, not as a machine, not as a collection of parts, but as a living system of vibration, rhythm, and wisdom. You begin to notice. Your breath slows down without effort. Your thoughts feel less sharp, less frantic. You don't react as quickly. You observe. There's space between sensation and action, and in that space, freedom. You feel heavier, in a good way, grounded, present, like you've dropped out of your head and into your body, into your core, into your center of gravity. Energy that once scattered through worry or overthinking now returns home, not upward, but inward. And from this place, you begin to move differently, not just physically, but emotionally. You speak with more clarity. You feel more embodied in your truth. You make decisions from the gut, not just the mind. This is somatic sovereignty, and it begins in the sacrum. People often say that after a week of this practice, time feels slower, colors feel richer, breath feels more alive. Some describe waves of spontaneous joy. Others feel emotion rising from places long buried. This is not just emotional release, it's nervous system recalibration. Your body is syncing with the rhythm it was built for, the rhythm of safety, of coherence, of deep presence. You're not just more relaxed, you're more aware. You notice the tension you used to ignore. You sense the subtle field around others. You remember things you didn't know you forgot, because the sacrum, once activated, broadcasts a different frequency, not just to the world, but to your cells, to your brain, to your breath, to the field of life itself. You don't become someone else. You become more you, more alive, more whole. And this is just the beginning. There comes a moment, quiet, subtle, unmistakable, when the movement becomes more than motion, when the breath becomes more than oxygen, when your awareness crosses a line, and you realize you are not just a body moving through space. You are a gateway. This is the threshold, the place where something ancient begins to rise, not just in your spine, but in your perception. You no longer feel like you're practicing. You feel like returning to something you've always known, but never touched until now. The ancients spoke of this without words. They danced it, dreamed it, drew it in spirals on cave walls, and carved it into temple stones. They knew when the sacrum vibrates, It doesn't just release tension, it alters perception. You begin to feel space differently. Time softens. Your senses sharpen. You hear your heartbeat, and then something deeper beneath it. A hum, a frequency, a presence. And then you cross. Not into fantasy, not into hallucination, but into a field that was always there, just out of reach. The field of expanded consciousness. Your body begins to feel like a bridge between worlds, between dimensions, between the visible and the unseen. In this state, the boundary between me and not me blurs. You begin to experience the witness state, a clear, lucid awareness that watches everything but clings to nothing. You see emotions rise, and you breathe through them. You hear thoughts like echoes in a vast canyon. You feel ancient, as if your body has done this before, and it has, because your cells carry the memory of movement as medicine, of energy as intelligence, of vibration as language. You realize something profound. You are not here to escape the body. You are here to become it fully, as the instrument of spirit. When the sacrum is active, the spine becomes a staff of light. The breath becomes a current. The mind becomes still. And what rises is the soul. Not the soul as an idea, but the soul as felt presence. This is the portal, and you are the threshold, the crossing point, the doorway. You don't need to go somewhere else to experience higher realities. You just need to be fully where you are, inside your body, with breath, movement, and sacred awareness. This is where the mystical becomes real, where the ancient becomes now, where you stop seeking the door, because you finally realize you are the door. So now you know. The key was never far. It was within you all along, solid, quiet, forgotten. Your sacrum, your sacred throne. You don't need rituals from faraway lands. You don't need to escape your body to find truth. You just need to return to the root, to move with awareness, to breathe with presence, to live from your center. Because this isn't about adding more. It's about remembering what's been there from the beginning. Your body is not a cage. It's a gateway, and the sacrum is the hinge. So take this practice with you. Make it yours, not as a technique, but as a way of being. And if something stirred inside you today, some ancient echo, then know this: you've just begun. You are the drum. You are the rhythm. You are the portal. Welcome home.